just got back from bringing the corn down to the market. That took me practically all day. Got Horace and Betsy hooked up, and now my back is killing.
Well, I mean, I was reading in this magazine, and I mean, have you ever thought about getting, like an automobile?
What?
An automobile, a horseless carriage, something we don't need horses.
I've never thought of getting an automobile, no. How much does one of your automobiles cost?
Mr. Ford's selling one for $950.
$950? I could buy 10 horses for that.
But, I mean, it's got 20 horsepower.
How do you put 20 horses in it?
Well, it's gasoline. You drive a piston with the fire that it makes.
It's got fire inside it?
Well, yeah.
That sounds dangerous.
Well, no, it's all contained.
Where do you get the gasoline to power this automobile?
Well, I mean, you can buy it at the drugstore.
So I drive down to the gasoline store to get gasoline for my automobile.
Right.
And let me just ask you this. Doesn't gasoline burn?
Yeah.
So when I put out my cigarette at this gasoline store, don't I risk blowing the whole place up?
Well, I mean, maybe they just don't allow you to smoke at the gas station.
They don't allow you to smoke at the gas station.
Sure, or maybe they have a system where they can put out a fire if there is one.
Oh, did Mr. Ford come up with this system to put out a fire if they have one?
Well, I'm
You've
just
got
saying,
so many cockamamie ideas from these magazines of yours. That's never going to happen.
it could happen.
Why would it happen? Horses work just fine.
Well, all right, well, say I want to go to New York.
Why would you want to go to New York?
Well, for the World's Fair or something. It's next year. Say I want to go there.
You want to go to a fair? We have fairs right here in town.
The World's Fair where they have all sorts of technology. Say I want to get there by the end of the day.
You want to get to New York by the end of the day.
Right.
How is that supposed to happen?
You can do it
no
in an
horse
automobile.
can ride that fast.
Right, the automobile. It can go 45 miles in an hour.
What? No, it can't.
Yes,
There's
it
no
can.
way. No. I don't know what you've been reading, but there's nothing that can go that fast. No horse I've ever seen can go that fast.
But you have the power of 20 horses, all in one horse.
Well, 20 horses can't go that fast. So how would that
but
work?
it's like you're putting all the horses together into one horse that could run.
Where do you get these ideas that you can put 20 horses into one horse?
It's the automobile. It's the engine. It uses the power to drive the car.
All right, so let's just say you could go 45 miles an hour. How would you turn in town? You would smash into something right out of the farm.
Well, I mean, you'd need roads that were built for that.
Oh yeah, I guess you would need roads. Who's going to pay for the roads?
In fact, all U.S. taxpayers paid for road construction, and just 6 years later, the Federal Aid Road Act of 1916 was enacted.
Well, I mean, I don't know. There's, we have railroads.
Yeah, we have railroads, and who paid for the railroads? Rich people. Rich men paid for those railroads. So they're going to build your fancy automobile roads too, and then we're going to have to pay them to use their roads?
I mean,
that sounds like a dumb plan.
I don't have all the answers, but I mean, I'm sure we can come up with something.
So you'd like to put roads throughout the entire country so you can ride your automobile on it?
Well, sure. It'd be faster. Think of all the time I'd save.
The time you'd save going to New York to the World's Fair.
I mean, if I wanted to, I could do that. If I wanted to do that now, I'd have to take Bessie. It would take me a week.
Yeah, at least a week.
But I mean, I could go down there, be there by tonight, go to the World's Fair tomorrow, and be back the next day.
You have some crazy, crazy ideas. I've never heard such crazy ideas.
But they're not crazy. It can happen.
All right. Well, let me just say it could happen. You've got your automobile, and then on your fancy road, your automobile breaks down.
Okay.
Then what are you going to do? Because if my Bessie breaks down, I get a new horseshoe put on by the smith down the road.
There could be places where you could go to get your automobile fixed.
There could be places, I suppose. Who's going to build these places, Mr. Ford?
But I mean, I'd pay to have it fixed, so there'd be people who'd want to do that.
And so you'd have a place there'd be places all over the place to fix your car?
In fact, by 1913, there would be almost 500,000 automobiles on the road, and by the 1920s, there were 60,000 service shops to fix automobiles throughout the U.S.
Well, sure, you wouldn't need that many. It doesn't break down that often.
Well, let me ask you this. let's say you don't break down that often, you're going to need gasoline very often, aren't you? So
True.
you're going to need stations along your fancy roads throughout the entire country. It sounds like you're going to need dozens of them, maybe hundreds of them.
In fact, by 1920, there would be 15,000 gas stations, and by 1930, America would have over 100,000.
But sure, but I'd be paying for the gasoline just like you're paying for your oats.
Yeah, so how are you going to get the gasoline to the gasoline places?
Well, if you have the roads, you could have a bigger automobile, like a truck, and it could have a big tank full of gasoline.
Did you hear what you just said? A big tank full of gasoline driving on your roads, sure to blow up. And then you're going to store your gasoline in these places, a big tank there too, I suppose. That's going to blow up.
But I mean,
You didn't think through any of these ideas, son. They sound good on paper, but think about them in real world. So you're going to have these places where they sell gasoline throughout the entire country?
Sure.
And how are they going to get the gasoline from the places where they pump it out of the ground to the place? Don't they have to do stuff to the oil when they pump it out of the ground? Don't they have to refine it into gasoline? So you're going to have refineries everywhere? Do you know how many gasoline refineries and pumping stations and all this stuff you're going to need to have if everyone's going to have an automobile?
I mean,
Everyone's got a horse now, right?
right.
And we've got barns for our horses, and we've got hay fields for our horses. You'd have to build all this stuff for your automobiles. That's never going to happen.
Right, but I mean, there used to not be hay fields, there used to not be barns. We put up the barns because it was worth it.
I don't remember when that ever happened. There was hay fields when I was a kid.
But at some point, there weren't. At
And-
some point, we didn't ride horses. And at some point, there weren't barns to house the horses in.
And we got to a perfect situation where we got horses and barns. Who can beat that?
Trains. Trains and automobiles.
I don't see it happen in my lifetime. And
I-
probably not in yours either.
Well, I've already been saving up to get me a Model T.
Oh, I see. Saving up your $900 that you could buy 10 horses with.
Well, sure.
You know what I could do with 10 horses? You know how many fields I could plow?
Do you know how many fields you could plow with a...
With the Model T?
Well, I mean, you'd need something different, but it would work.
What, some kind of horseless tractor?
Well, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be the day.
It could probably go faster, it wouldn't need a brake.
Yeah, well, it sounds good in your magazine, but I can't see how it's going to actually happen in real world.
It did, and by 1916, just 6 years later, the price dropped to $345, and Zach bought his first Model T, although he never saw the reason to drive to New York.
Well, I know that you're wrong.
Okay, well, you're a young man, you haven't lived long yet, and you'll find out that the world doesn't work the way you think it does. Just got back from Walmart. I was in traffic for 2 hours. My car almost overheated.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy because I'm paying, what, $3 a gallon for gas. It almost ran out.
Well, wow. You know, I was reading up on some articles about Tesla. Have you heard about Tesla?
Oh, were you reading on your smartphone?
Well, yes, yeah. Have you heard about Tesla though?
About what?
Tesla, they're making an electric car.
No, I haven't heard about it.
Yeah, I mean, you know how electric cars, they're always so boring and stuff?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they're making like a sexy electric car.
Yeah, how much does that cost?
Well, right now they have the Roadster. It looks like this.
Wow, that's pretty sporty.
Right.
How much does that cost, though?
It's really expensive right now. But I mean, they're going to come down in price.
Oh, are they?
Well, okay, so the owner of Tesla is Elon Musk, and he made like PayPal and he's made Tesla too. And so what he's saying is you're going to have a Roadster. You know, he's coming out with a Roadster, and then they're going to have the Model S.
What's the Model S?
So it'll be like a you know, a little bit less of a sports car than that. It'll be, you know, kind of like a 4-door car.
Oh, and is this Elon Musk going to just make it cheaper for you? Is that what he's going to do?
Well, I mean, I think he has a bigger plan of making it cheaper in the long run. But so he's going to make it a very expensive car right now, which is the Roadster, and then he's going to make the Model S, and it's going to be cheaper. And then he might make like an SUV, and then he might that'll still be kind of expensive, but then he'll make another car that everyone could afford.
And these are all going to be electric cars.
Right.
One little problem with your electric Tesla idea is where do you get the power for these cars?
Well, I mean, right now,
Don't electric cars just go like 50 miles and then they run out of juice?
Well, I mean, that's the cool thing. Like the Roadster can go like 200 miles.
Wow, 200 miles.
Right.
Okay, but my car can go more than 200 miles, and then I can go another 300 miles and another 300 miles. What happens when your Roadster runs out of juice?
Well, I mean, right now you kind of have to like stop at an RV park or charge and with a dryer socket. But
Well, see, that's the problem with your system. There is no system.
okay, but Tesla's also thinking of they're going to have like a supercharger that'll charge your car up in 20 minutes.
Well, that's nice to think about, but that can't happen.
But it could happen. I mean, they've already made a car that, like electric cars, they're always so wimpy, they're always so slow, and they have such small range. But like
Well, is this guy Elon Musk like a rocket scientist or something?
In fact, Elon Musk is a rocket scientist. As the owner of SpaceX, Elon Musk was the first to envision a rocket that could launch into space and then safely land on a drone ship at sea. Better not tell Zach about his plans to colonize Mars just yet.
Because it just can't happen. You can't charge a car in 20 minutes.
But I mean, what if you could?
Yeah, what if you could? That would be great. Okay, so when that happens, call me up and I'll think about it.
Right, and so then you could go from one of these places to another of these places, just like a gas station. It'd be just like a gas station. You'd pull in, you'd charge your car for 20 minutes, then you'd drive another 200 miles.
You'd have to have hundreds of these superchargers across the country to do that.
Right.
Who's going to build those?
I think Tesla's going to.
Oh, they're just out of the kindness of their heart? They're going to build them?
Just 6 years later, there would be over 4,600 superchargers throughout the world, allowing 160,000 Tesla owners to drive across the continental US from the Arctic Circle to the south of Spain and Italy and throughout China, Japan, and Australia.
Well, I mean, they're going to be making money. I mean, it's a company. They're making profit.
How are they going to make money? Only rich people can buy your Roadster.
Okay, but I mean, then when they come out with the S, like normal people will be able to buy it. And then as they keep expanding as a company, as a car company, then they'll be able to produce cheaper and cheaper cars.
Well, it sounds good on paper again, but I don't see how it's going to actually happen in the real world. Another problem you haven't thought about is where's all the electricity going to come from to power all these cars? If you're not powering gas-powered cars anymore, you have to have more electricity. Where are you going to get more electricity from? You have to burn more oil.
But no, I mean, you could have solar. You could have solar on the roofs of your house.
Wait, slow down a minute. You could put what on the roof of your house?
Solar panels, and then you'd absorb
Why would
the
I
sun.
put solar panels on the roof of my house?
So you could generate electricity. You'd be almost like your own little power plant.
Well, maybe on a nice hot day like today, but what about all those days when it's raining out?
I mean,
Then I'm not powering my electric car.
okay, but I mean, like, just like the electric car has batteries, your house could have a battery.
My house could have a battery.
Right. I mean, your
Like
house could be off the grid.
You're off the grid. What are you talking about? How could my house be off the grid? I'm going to have like car batteries in my house?
No. I mean, like, in this new Tesla, they don't use car batteries. They use little, like, laptop batteries.
So I'm going to have a whole room full of little laptop batteries in my house that's going to power my house.
But they have a good energy density. Like, you can fit a lot of energy in there.
Okay, again, this idea of a world full of superchargers and cars that can charge in 20 minutes and cars that are affordable sounds good, but it's not going to happen.
But I mean, like oil refineries, they take so much electricity to power them. They have to have huge lines running straight to them.
We already built that, though. We've got that. We've got oil refineries. We've got pipelines. It's all there.
But we're going to run out of oil.
Not in my lifetime, we're not.
Maybe in my lifetime or my children's lifetime. Don't you care about your grandkids?
I do, but I just don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. So why are we worried about it?
But we should be worrying about it because, I mean, the climate's heating up. You know, I mean, there's global warming. We're gonna all the sea levels are gonna rise.
No, I hear you. I just don't see what's going to happen anytime soon to change that.
But it's already happening. Tesla's already made an electric car. You can, I mean, maybe
Yeah, well,
you
it's
can't
happening
afford
out
it.
in L.A. for some rich actors, I suppose, but it's not going to happen around here. We're never going to see a Tesla around here.
In fact, just 2 years later, Zach would see his first Tesla, a white Model S, drive by, ironically, as he was filling up with gas at a gas station.
I mean,
The day that there's a Tesla driving on the road next to me is the day that you can say you were right. But it's not going to happen.
it will happen.
What you don't understand is because you're young, is that history takes a long time. So maybe decades and decades from now, maybe your grandkids will
But
be
it's not
driving
history.
a
I
Tesla.
mean, we had like electric cars in the 20s.
We had electric cars in the 20s.
Yeah. They were about the same as regular oil.
So
cars.
these little smartphones of yours, they give you all this information about how we had electric cars in the 20s?
We did. They were, they weren't that powerful, just like the regular cars weren't that
Did you
powerful.
go to the same schools that I went to? I learned about Ford, and I never heard about an electric car in the 20s.
Jesse's correct. The first electric car debuted in the US around 1890, and by 1900, electric cars accounted for 1/3 of all vehicles on the road. Henry Ford partnered with Thomas Edison to develop a low-cost electric car in 1914, but by 1935, electric cars all but disappeared.
Right, but that's because they cut them out. They didn't want... I mean, if you can just get electricity, you can get electricity from almost anywhere. It's hard to get oil from places. You have to pump it out of the ground. You have to refine it. There's a whole lot of infrastructure that goes into it. So, I mean, it's...
No, I mean, it sounds good. Like I said, it sounds good from your little smartphone. It sounds like a great plan. It's just, it's not going to happen anytime soon. So I can't afford it, so why should I care?
Because, I mean, someday you will.
Someday. Sure. Someday when I'm too old to drive these things, because I won't be able to see anymore.
But they're also talking about, like, having the car drive itself.
See, now, this is where you lose me in the argument, because cars are never going to drive themselves.
In fact, just 6 years later, Zach would be sitting in his own Model X that would drive him autonomously from Massachusetts to San Francisco and back.
Right, but I mean, there's already that DARPA competition where the car drove itself through the desert. There's no one sitting in it.
Well, the desert doesn't have any people in it, does it? So you can
That
drive
was
your car
just
through
for
the desert.
safety, but I mean, Google's
Yeah, for
already
safety.
working on it, and all these places, they're thinking about it. They're working on it. They
Okay,
can sit
they're
in the
working
car,
on
and the car will turn the steering wheel for you.
The car will turn the steering
and do
wheel
the brakes
for you.
and the pedals. You don't have to do anything. You can just sit there.
Well, in a desert, but it's not going to work on real roads.
Why not? The roads are even better
Roads
than
are
the desert.
complicated, and there's a lot of things going through your head when you're driving that can't be done by robots.
Right, but I mean, a desert is complicated because there's no roads, there's no lines or anything. It has to sort of figure out a good path. That's why they test it, because it's for the military.
No, I'm sure it'll happen, you know.
But I mean, the roads have lines. You just use a camera and you can see where the lines are and see where the car is.
If you could just use a camera to drive a car, then wouldn't they have done it already?
But I mean, you could use a camera to drive a car, couldn't you? If I set up a camera, a webcam on my head, and I somehow sent it to you, and you were watching it at the same time, right?
I don't know how these smartphones put all these crazy ideas in your head. There's not going to be cars that drive themselves. Get that through your head, okay?
But I mean, you could drive the car from the camera's perspective, couldn't you?
Okay.
So I mean, why couldn't a computer do the same thing?
Well, it could, but it's never going to happen. So why are you bothering to think about it?
Because it will happen.
Well, I'm sure it will happen. I'm not arguing that. It'll probably happen a couple centuries from now when, you know, I'm long gone. But it's not going to happen soon.
It will happen soon.
Okay. Okay, son.